We're going to share with you how to choose an inflatable PFD. So why one of these? Well, this is a sport version of a foam or K-POC filled. It's thick, it's a little bit bulky. It's one of the smallest ones, but it's still a lot of vest. If you get into a Type 1, they're huge and they're not comfortable. I'm wearing a U.S. Coast Guard approved one right now, and as you can see, it's quite comfortable, and I'll tell you, it's very light. And compared to this, there's really not much going on back here either. So I'm very likely to wear this compared to a traditional. As I said, this is Coast Guard approved. With that approval, it only qualifies as Coast Guard approved when you're wearing it. If you have it stowed somewhere and you get pulled over and inspected, it doesn't count. So you have to be wearing this. Now, there are a number of manufacturers coming out of Europe mainly that do not go through the process of getting their vests Coast Guard approved, but they generally carry certifications from ISO or CE, but they don't count over here. So as far as the Coast Guard is concerned, they're not a life vest. So if you happen to be wearing one of those brands, what you need to have on board is a foam, Coast Guard approved life jacket stored somewhere so that you're compliant. Some of the advantages of these, well, when these inflate, they're highly visible, orange or fluoro tubes, bladders, and a lot of them have reflective tape integral. Because they have so much more flotation than a foam life jacket, they will keep you up higher in the water, and these are much more likely to turn an unconscious person over with head back. So a safer vest in the water. And some of the disadvantages, not many. You do need to keep rearming kits on board. If this inflates, you're going to need to be able to rearm it. And they're generally not recommended for children under 16 or people under 80 pounds. Inflatables do their comfort, their safety, their extra flotation. They're just excellent for any kind of sailing, almost any kind of sailing, and almost any kind of boating. Just a couple of the exceptions. Times when you're going to be in the water repeatedly. So maybe you're doing some dinghy sailing or you're on a personal watercraft and you're going to be falling in a lot. But you want some flotation. Well, you're not going to keep deploying this manually or automatically. Once it's done, you have to rearm it. So that's probably better to have a foam, hard foam life jacket, a traditional, where you can repeatedly go in the water and repeatedly have the flotation. One last would be high-speed situations. So you're in a high-speed chase boat or a bass boat or whatever, and you get thrown. These do not take well to landing in the water at high speeds. Again, better off going with a traditional foam PFD. Okay, so buoyancy when it comes to life jackets, and especially inflatable life jackets, is measured in pounds. So the more air you can get into the bladder, the bigger the bladder, the more flotation you get, or pounds of flotation you get. In the European manufactured ones, they refer to this not in pounds, but in newtons. So you're going to see this anytime you're talking about life jackets. So how much buoyancy do you need? Starting at 22 pounds or 100 newtons or higher, that's great for just any general boating, sailing activities where you're close to rescue. You won't spend a lot of time in the water. You're not in the ocean. If you get offshore, you're in rough water, rough seas, it's going to take longer for people to get to you. You're going to spend more time in the water, and you want to be up higher so you can breathe. We're talking about 33 pounds of flotation or 150 newtons or more is great for offshore or rough conditions. Okay, when it comes to inflator types, the mechanism in here that actually releases a CO2 cartridge and inflates the bladder, the vest, there's two basic types. There's a manual, and that would have a tab right down here or a handle, and you have to be conscious and manually pull it, and that will pierce the canister and it'll inflate. The other is a manual auto. All vests have a manual option, but with an auto, you have a mechanism here that is water sensing, and when it comes in contact with water, it releases the pen and the CO2 and it inflates. Now in the automatic, there's two different types. There is the traditional bobbin, which has a paper bobbin, And when it's water sodden, the paper softens and the pen's able to penetrate through that. Rarely, but in situations when you're in driving rain, 90% humidity, it's just a ridiculous amount of water in the air. It has happened occasionally that those bobbins get wet and they will go off accidentally. It doesn't happen a lot. If that does, just rearm it. The other is a hydrostatic, and what it uses is a water pressure sensor, and you actually have to go in the water at least 4 inches or 10 centimeters for the pressure to change enough to inflate it. So if you're above the water, it doesn't matter about the humidity or anything else, it's not going to inflate. Okay, last point when choosing a life jacket or an inflatable life jacket is, should I get a harness, an attachment point where this jacket has it built in and this one does. So this is all beefed up throughout here and adjustable. Same with this. And then I have attachment points. In this case, I've got 2 D-rings where I can attach my tether. And in this case, I have a soft sewn ring where I can attach tethers. So if you're ever going to be in a situation where you need to attach to a jack line or a pad eye in the cockpit, even if it's only once in the life of your vest, just spend a few extra bucks and get the harness. If you're just purely inshore and you're never going to be in that situation, then going without a harness might be the direction you want to take. So when choosing your inflatable PFD, it's important to take a moment, think about the sailing you do now, the sailing you'll do in the future, how close to rescue you are if you go in the water, and what the water conditions and weather conditions will be. There's a lot more to this subject, and I invite you to visit our guide to choosing inflatable PFDs found on the APS Advisor. There we'll go into all the different Coast Guard classifications, the different inflators, different options, AIS, strobes, spray hoods, crotch straps, all kinds of things.